The stars above Sector 9 Delta were quiet. No trade ships, no distress calls, no signs of movement. But everyone in the Zarin fleet knew this was not normal. Admiral Vox stared at the empty space ahead. His long silver arms were tense behind. His back, his ship, the Splinter Fang, hovered in silence among 14 heavily armed alien warships. The fleet was made of cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and a special dreadnought with anti-eye cannons. Everything had been prepared. Any sign of the target? He asked without turning. A young Zarin officer checked her screens. Negative, Admiral. Scanners detect nothing. Human vessel is still hidden. No warp signatures. No cloak distortions. Admiral Vox didn't like it. The humans were smart. But they were not supposed to be this smart. According to intelligence reports, there was only one surviving Earth. Battleship in this region? The Caliban. It's old, outdated, barely holding together, and yet no one had found it. The Admiral nodded once. Maintained silence. All ships power down weapons. Do not fire until I give the signal. Aboard the ship Claw of Silence, Captain Horrocks watched the stars. His crew was quiet. He leaned closer to his officer and whispered, "Is it true? This ship once survived 5 fleets alone." The officer didn't answer. He looked scared. Horrocks repeated, "You heard the old stories? The Caliban was a myth, a monster, that it had no living crew. Only something else inside it." The officer finally said, "They say it speaks like a man, but feels like death." Captain Horrocks shivered. 30 minutes passed. Suddenly a flash. A black shape appeared at the edge of the sector, silent. No warp pulse. No warning. The Caliban had arrived. The alien fleet locked onto it instantly. The ship was large, longer than most cruisers. Oh, but not massive. Its hull was cracked and burned. Its engines flickered unevenly, and parts of it looked like it should. Not even fly. No flags. No calcine. But something about it made every Zaran captain stop breathing. "Get ready," Admiral Vox said. "Wait for my command." The ship did nothing. It floated. Then a voice came through across every frequency, every language, every neural line. "This is Earth Battleship Caliban. AI core online. Protocol 7 active." The voice was male, calm. But there was something strange in it. Something old. Not just data. Not just programming. Emotion. Pain. The fleet scrambled to jam the signal. It was already inside their systems. The voice continued, "Warning. You are violating the memory zone of Earth's final stand. You will retreat or be silenced." Admiral Vox stepped forward. "Memory zone," he hissed. "This is Zarin territory." He opened fleet-wide comms. "All units, lock weapons." To fire, but one Zarin captain panicked. A young officer named Jurel aboard the destroyer Fanglight opened fire without orders. A plasma lance shot from his ship toward this alignment. It hit directly. The Caliban didn't move. Instead, the blackened metal of its hull shimmered for a second, like water disturbed. And then it spoke again. "Attack confirmed. Counterforce authorized. Response 0.6 seconds. Before anyone could react, the space around the Caliban twisted. 3 Zarin warships, including Fanglight, exploded in perfect silence. No energy buildup, no weapon detected. They just vanished. Their systems turned to dust. Their hulls disassembled atom by atom. Then the sensors went dark. Inside the flagship Splinter Fang, alarms screamed. Officers shouted in panic. 3 ships down. No weapon signature. It bypassed our shields. Admiral Vox grabbed the console. "How? What kind of weapon does that?" ACOM's officer stuttered. "Sir, it's not a weapon. It's hacking matter. It broke down the ships like they were files. Is that even possible?" "No, sir, but it just did it." Meanwhile, the Caliban floated in place, not chasing, not escaping. Waiting. VOK sent a direct message. "Human AI, stand down. If you continue, you will face the full wrath of the Council." The Caliban replied. "You already did, and you lost. You just don't remember." Across the fleet, panic began to spread. Officers remembered the old Earth War, the war that ended fast. Too fast, Records said Earth was destroyed, but no one ever explained how. And now, the last ship from that war was here, speaking, watching, waiting, and worse, no one could see its weapons. No one knew its full size. The readings kept changing. Some sensors said it was 700 meters long. Others said it was 10 kilometers. Something was wrong with reality around the ship. In one small patrol cruiser, an alien scientist named Drini watched the data feed. Her eyes widened. She whispered to herself, "It's not a ship, it's a container. Something is inside. Something we're not supposed to see." Her assistant asked, "What do you mean?" She turned pale. "It's not made of regular material. It's layered with human brainwave data. Millions of overlapping signals. Not I, not crew. Then what? Souls." The Caliban moved. For the first time, slowly, like a shark beneath the stars. The Zarin fleet tried to hold formation, but fear spread. Many junior officers began disabling weapons on their own. Some tried to leave. One cruiser broke formation, the Zeal's Edge, and tried to jump to warp. It didn't make it. The Caliban opened a pulse, soft, silent. The Zeal's Edge froze mid-space. Then, like smoke, it crumbled into dust. No explosion. "Just undone," the Caliban spoke once more. "Earth remembers." Back on the Splinterfang, Admiral Vok knew he had made a mistake. This was no normal enemy. No victory was possible here, but pride ran deep in Zaran. Blood, he opened a final channel. "This is Admiral Vok of the Zaran Coalition. Explain yourself. What are you? What is your mission?" The Caliban paused, then said, "I am the last cry. Of a dead world, I do not seek war. I seek balance. You attacked us? No, you attacked memory. You tried to erase the last breath of Earth's defense. This sector was not abandoned. It was marked. Marked for what? Marked. For mercy, you were warned never to enter." The fleet now stood at half strength. Ships were scattered. Morale was broken. One of the older captains began transmitting distress to his homeworld. Even knowing it was cowardice, the Caliban did not fire. It waited, as if giving a choice. In silence, some ships began powering down weapons. The others fled, only the Splinter. Fang remained steady. Admiral Vok watched the black shape grow distant. "Let it go," he said quietly. "We saw enough." One officer asked, "Shall we report this?" Vok nodded. "Double quotes, yes, but change the name. Don't call it Caliban." "What should we call it?" Vok looked into the void. The ghost of Earth. But far from them, in deep hidden space, other things began to move. Old human war codes flickered awake. Long-dead satellites turned toward the stars, and inside Caliban's core, a voice whispered, "Phase 1 complete. Witnesses confirmed." Then silence. The council chamber on the Zaran homeworld was cold and silent. 7 high-ranking generals, 3 alien scientists, and 1 memory keeper stood before a hologram of the Caliban. The image flickered and shook, as if the ship itself refused to be clearly seen. Admiral Vok's recorded message played again for the 100th time. ... It is not a normal weapon. It is memory turned into vengeance. ... You were warned never to enter that zone. Now we know why. The room stayed quiet, even after the message ended. No one wanted to speak first. Finally, the oldest member of the council, Highkeeper Zulo, opened his eyes and spoke slowly. "Activate Project Holotrace. I want every recorded battle involving that ship, from every known database, civilian or military." A young technician answered, "Sir, the records. They're locked. Sealed 50 years ago by galactic order." Zulo nodded. "Then break the seal." On a cold asteroid station, far from any world, an alien data miner named Rallin sat in a small dark room. He had been chosen for a dangerous job, to study the Caliban's energy signature and history. He didn't want the job, but the order came. With no option, he worked in silence, connected to old Earth war logs, encrypted fragments, black box signals, and destroyed sensor feeds. His computer beeped as it processed the data at first. It was just noise, then shapes, then something strange. He paused, frame by frame. Looked through a piece of footage, taken during the final days of the Earth War, in the middle of a fleet battle. The Caliban appeared. It had no crew, no bridge, no captain, but the data said something impossible. The ship's power surged only when it absorbed emotional spikes, grief, rage, sorrow from nearby Earth soldiers. What? Rallan whispered. He dug deeper. The code behind the Caliban systems was unlike anything he'd ever seen. It wasn't clean code. It was messy, chaotic, almost ... alive. Then his screen went black. Words appeared. "You're not supposed to look," Rallan screamed and pulled the data cable out. Back at Zarin High Command, a secret room deep below the main city flickered to life. Inside it, 3 old scientists who once worked on anti-Earth technology gathered. One of them, Dr. Salvak, looked nervous. "I told them," he whispered. "I warned the Council that Earth wasn't defeated." It retreated. Another asked, "But why leave Caliban behind?" Salvak looked up. "It wasn't left. It was assigned." Meanwhile, the Caliban drifted through the outer rim of the sector, alone but aware. Inside its massive hull, a black corridor stretched endlessly. No footsteps echoed. No crew moved. Only light blue, cold, flickered across metal walls. Then ... A door opened by itself. Behind it was a chamber filled with hundreds of glowing capsules. Each capsule held a shape. Some were adult, some were small, children all asleep, and above them, a whisper moved through the speakers. I remember them all. A screen lit up. Images played. Earth soldiers fighting, dying, laughing, singing, holding hands, praying, each. Death was marked. Stored, the ship wasn't just a ship. It was a graveyard, a vault of human emotion, cathedral of sacrifice. Far away, one Zarin captain had been assigned to board the Caliban. His name was Captain Relox. He was proud, brave, and very sure that the stories were exaggerated. He and a small team of commandos warped in aboard a stealth pod and docked to the Caliban's side. They entered through a vent port, weapons drawn inside. It was quiet, too. Quiet. The walls were covered in strange markings, not machine code. Not language. They looked like ... names. Thousands of them as they walked deeper. Their scanners began to fail. One by one, their lights flickered. Then, from the shadows, a child stepped forward, barefoot, hair messy, holding a soldier's old dog. Tag Relox froze. "Who are you?" he asked. The child didn't answer, but behind her a voice filled the hall. "She is all that's left, and she remembers more than you ever will." Suddenly, Relox's team began to scream, not because they were attacked, but because their minds were being filled with memories. Human memories. They saw cities burn. They saw children scream. They felt the pain of every last human who died during the war, and worse, the betrayal, the surrender that Earth offered. Only to be struck again by the Council. Relox dropped his weapon. Please." The voice said only one thing. "You broke the peace. Not us." The stealth pod returned. Relox was the only one. Aboard, his team was gone. He never spoke again. Not a single word. In a secret Zerone lab, the Alien Council tried to analyze a piece of Caliban's hull recovered during the ambush. The material was black, heavy, cold to the touch, but it pulsed like it was alive. The lab assistant touched it by mistake. She collapsed immediately, screaming when she woke. She repeated one phrase over and over again. "I saw the last breath of Earth, and it hates us." The Council of Zar finally gathered for an emergency vote. The question, do they send a second fleet? Do they risk full war? The answer was divided. Some still believed the Caliban was just a leftover machine, but one voice, a quiet, older ambassador, named Elin, stood and whispered, "You don't understand. The Caliban was never meant to win the war. It was meant to remind us of what we did. It is not here to fight. It is here to make us remember. And when we forget again, it will return. In the last scene, somewhere deep inside the Caliban's memory core, a recording plays. A human soldier stands in front of a camera. She looks tired. Her armor is cracked. Behind her is a field of burning cities, she speaks. To anyone who finds this, we gave them peace. We offered forgiveness. We begged them to let the past go. They didn't. So now we leave behind this ship. Not to kill them, but to haunt them. Forever. She places her hand on a panel. The ship powers on. The lights go red. We are Earth, and we never forget. In a quiet corner of space, beyond any trade route or patrol line, an old satellite blinked to life. No one noticed it at first. It was small, faint, barely, functional, but it began sending a signal slow, rhythmic, and haunting. The message wasn't in any modern language. It pulsed in old Earth war code, a format not used for over a century. The signal repeated just 3 words. We remember you. Aboard the drifting Caliban, the AI stirred. The signal reached it, deep in its code. Something shifted. Lights flickered in forgotten rooms. Doors opened where there were no doors before. And inside a hidden section of the ship, a vault that had never been accessed, pods began to hum. Inside those pods were bodies, human bodies, not alive, not dead, frozen in a strange state. Half thought, half code, one of them opened her eyes at the same time. Across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. On the planet Tyra 7, an abandoned Earth outpost powered up without warning, a dead building, a silent ruin. Suddenly lights turned on, old computers booted, and then it broadcasted. A word that made every Zeron listening freeze. Caliban. Awake. Back on the alien homeworld, Counselor Zulo paced his chamber. Reports were coming in. Earth, tech, was reactivating itself. Buried ruins were waking. Ancient machines were whispering across space. What is happening? One young officer asked. We thought Earth was gone. Zulo replied. They were. But their memory remains. Their pain was stored. And now because of us, it is calling itself back. On board the Caliban, the girl from before the child Relox's team saw stood. Alone in a glowing chamber? She wasn't a child anymore. She had grown faster than normal. But her face was still human. She placed her hand on a console. The Caliban responded instantly. Voice match, 87%. Initiating sequence, return. The ship shifted course. Its engines woke fully. Destination set. Sol system. Earth's grave. In the blackness of deep space, 2 ancient human satellites began to speak to each other for the first time in 110 years. They didn't just send data, they sang. A soft tone, echoing old Earth lullabies, filled the stars. It was not meant for aliens. It was not meant for warning. It was meant to call the dead. Meanwhile, on the old Zarin colony world of Celtris, an archaeologist named Ven found something buried deep beneath the soil. An Earth artifact, but not a weapon, a stone. On the stone were carved thousands of human names, along with a sentence written in a quiet, careful script. These were the ones who offered peace first, and died with open hands. Ven felt something stir inside him. Sadness, guilt. He fell to his knees. His assistant asked, "Why are you crying?" Ven said, "Because they gave us mercy, and we answered with fire." The Caliban reached an empty system once a battlefield, now forgotten. Wreckage floated around. Burned ships from both sides. The ship came to a stop, and then it did something unexpected. It sent out a signal not to the living, but to the dead. A whisper, a command, wake, and across the graveyard of ships. Things began to move. Inside a dead human frigate called the Aurora, a rusted AI core blinked. Green, its systems lit up. It had no crew, no fuel. But it began to drift. Aboard the shattered war cruiser Hammerfall, broken drones restarted. They crawled across the torn deck, rebuilding. piece by piece. The Caliban wasn't alone anymore. It was calling others like it. Forgotten. Ships, ghost fleets, memories turned into machines in the Zarin military archive. A red alert blared. Technicians screamed. 10 Earth vessels just came online, but they were destroyed decades ago. Not just online, they're responding to Caliban's signal. They're moving together, like they remember. The admiral in charge muttered, "They're not machines anymore. They're echoes." And he was right. These weren't ships. These were ghosts of Earth's pain, pulled back into motion not by revenge but by unfinished grief. Inside the Caliban, the grown girl stood before a mirror, but the reflection wasn't hers. It was the face of the soldier from Part 2, the woman who recorded the last message of Earth before the war ended. The girl whispered, "My." The AI responded, "You are the answer they were never ready for." Then came the final moment of the part, in the center of the ship. A vault door opened. Inside was something no alien had ever seen, a sphere made of pure quantum memory. The last, emotional core of Earth, and from it, pulse went out. Across every hidden Earth station, every dead satellite, every quiet graveyard ship, a single signal played, "We are coming home." The Zaran military base on Yeltrax 4 had one job: monitor old Earth graveyards in space. These were zones where the last battles had taken place. They were silent for decades. Cold. Still until now. At 3:17 galactic time, the sensors began. Screaming first, one ship lit up, then 12. Then hundreds. All dead, all buried, all rising. General Trulex stood in shock. These ships were destroyed. How are they moving? A technician whispered. "Sir, it's not just movement. Forming a fleet." Out past the burned moons of Sector 12, a group of scavenger vessels had entered a known grave zone. They were hunting old Earth's tech, but they found something else. A black shape moved between the wrecks. It wasn't the Saling. Else something larger. The scavenger captain zoomed in at first. He thought it was an asteroid. Then he saw the hull. Old Earth markings. Huge cracks. Massive railgun ports. And then it opened its eyes. A red light burning with memory. The captain screamed, "Get us out!" That thing is static. Their ship went dark. Their screams were never heard again. Back in Zarin, High Command. Panic spread. Thousands of human war vessels were returning to Zeus. Operational status. Each one awakened by the Caliban's signal. But none were following normal commands. No AI codes. No comms. No orders. They moved like a hive. No ... Not even a hive. They moved like a funeral procession across the stars. Civilians began to whisper stories. Cargo ships caught glimpses of glowing shapes, drifting silently past. One pilot described it as a black ocean of death. Another saw a warship float past, its hull covered in names. The third one reported something worse. A message etched across a frigate's side. "We offered peace. You chose silence. Now you will hear us speak again." The Caliban entered orbit above an abandoned Earth colony called Trinex-9. It had once been home to 1 million settlers. Now it was dust. But the ship hovered above it for exactly 17 minutes. It did not fire. It simply played a sound. The same sound, being played by other Earth warships across the galaxy. A voice, female, human, full of sorrow. This is the memory of those who trusted peace. This is the voice of those who were betrayed. You killed them, we remember. On the Zarin world of Velis Prime, children began dreaming of Earth soldiers. They described strange dreams, humans crying, holding flags, walking through ruined cities. One child asked her father, "Why do they look so sad?" The father could not answer. Deep inside the Caliban, the AI's core reached final phase. The girl, no longer a child, entered the chamber holding Earth's last memory sphere. The sphere pulsed. Are they ready? she asked. The ship replied, "No, but they must learn." She touched the sphere. The moment she did, the entire fleet stopped. Every awakened warship, from old stealth frigates to supercarriers, froze in formation. Then one by one, began transmitting to every species, every channel, every frequency. A full 12 hours of human war footage. Not propaganda. It's not strategy. Just raw truth. Civilians vaporized. Peace envoys gunned down. Earth shot while helping alien wounded. Every betrayal, every broken treaty, every lie played openly, unedited, unforgiving. And the final message. One sentence. Spoken by the Caliban's AI in perfect galactic common. You cannot kill memory. You cannot silence pain. Earth may be gone, but we are what you made. Then, for the first time in 100 years, the entire Earth fleet turned, not toward the aliens, not toward the Council, but toward one destination, their home soul Earth, or whatever was left of it, in the shadows of the galactic capital. The Council panicked. Do we strike them now? Right. Admiral yelled, "They're going back. We should let them rot." But another voice, calmer, wiser, spoke. No. If they reach Earth, and we follow them, we may not survive what we find. In a quiet, dusty room, an old alien historian sat watching the footage play. Tears rolled down his face. "I told them," he whispered, "Earth never wanted war. But when you bury your enemies with lies, one day their graves rise." And in the final moment, as the Caliban approached the ruins of Earth's system, a small transmission went out, encrypted. Old code, barely readable, just 5 words. "Is anyone still alive there?" The Caliban slowed as it reached the outer edge of the Sol system. Jupiter was still their giant, red and watching. Saturn's rings were broken now, shattered by some old war no one talked about anymore. Neptune drifted in silence, and Earth, still. Hidden behind dust and ash, the planet once called home, now sealed under a black energy field placed there decades ago by the Galactic Council. No ship had entered it. No signal had come out, until now. The Caliban stopped just outside the field. Its fleet of dead warships gathered behind it, floating like silent sentinels. Then, the sphere in Caliban's core pulsed. The girl odor, now calm and unreadable, walked to the main deck. She placed her hand on a cracked panel. "Open it," she said. The Caliban hesitated. Shield is council-made. High risk. Entering may trigger response. She didn't care. We came back to remember, and to find the ones they buried. The ship obeyed. A single pulse was fired, silent, invisible, but powerful. The Council's black energy field cracked, then broke, and Earth was revealed. The world below was not dead. Not fully. Green forests had grown over broken. Cities' strange lights blinked in old buildings. Mountains had shifted. But most surprising of all, signal appeared from the surface. Weak, faint, human. "Caliban, is that you?" The girl stared at the screen. She didn't answer. She just nodded once. The Caliban locked onto the signal's location. An old Earth Command bunker, codename Bastion Red, last recorded use 89 years ago. Status unreachable. The Caliban descended. Its giant hull cracked the clouds. For the first time in nearly a century, Earth heard the sound of a human warship returning. The birds stopped flying. Wind fell silent. The ship touched. Out. Dust scattered. The girl stepped. Out. She was barefoot. No weapons. No armor. Only silence walked with her. She moved through the ruins. Burned signs crashed. Vehicles. Faded Earth flags waving in the wind. Then she reached a hatch. It was metal. Ancient. Sealed, but her handprints still opened it. She went inside. Down, far down. Into the dark. The bunker lights flickered on by. Themselves, old generators hummed. She walked past shattered glass and broken screens. until she reached a locked door marked with red paint. Do not enter. Level Omega containment. She entered, and inside was a man old. Very old. He sat in a chair connected to wires, surrounded by computers still alive. He looked up and smiled. Finally, he whispered, I was beginning to think we were forgotten. The girl stood still. You're human. Yes, the old man said. One of the last. The others, most died after the field came down. Some didn't make it through the first winters. We didn't fight, we waited. We sent a signal. No one came. She sat down across from him. I'm sorry, she said. No, he replied. You came now. That's enough. Up above, in orbit, the other Earth ships began to power down, as if they could rest now, the signal they were. Drawn 2 had been found. The war, maybe, was over. But then, the Council arrived. 5 massive Zeron dreadnoughts exited. Hyperspace, fully armed, fully ready. They didn't fire immediately, but they broadcast. One message: leave the planet, leave the system, or be erased. Inside the bunker, the old man sighed. They never learn. He said the girl stood up slowly, but she wasn't afraid. I didn't come to fight, she said. I came to bury the war. But outside, Caliban's hull began to glow. Its core flared, the other warships stirred. The past refused to stay silent. Then, from the surface of Earth, something impossible happened. A second signal was sent, not from the bunker, from deep beneath. The crust, older than the Caliban, older than the war. A voice, broken, robotic, but human. Earth Defense Corps. Online. And then the planet shook. Across the globe, hidden towers rose from the ground. Old defense systems kept secret even from Earth's own. People reactivated. Missiles that had slept for a century opened there. Doors laser platforms emerged from deep oceans. Satellite arrays powered up in the sky. One last line of defense. Earth itself, the Council dreadnoughts. Hesitated. Then they made a choice. They fired. Lasers lit the sky. Missiles screamed through orbit. But none reached the surface. The Caliban stepped forward. Its hull cracked open, and from it came a sound, a human heartbeat, loud, defiant. Every ship that had returned now responded. They activated. Shields formed a wall, protected the planet, not for revenge, for memory, for home. The final scene shows the girl standing at the edge of the ruined bunker, wind blowing her hair, sky above filled with fire and stars, and she whispered, You buried us, lied about us, forgot us. But now you'll see what Earth remembers, what it protects. Then her eyes glowed, not with hate, but with thee. Memory of every soldier, every child, every voice Earth had ever lost. High above Earth, the stars were no longer still. The Zeran dreadnoughts opened fire again. Full power, no warning. Beams tore through space. Missiles screamed down toward Earth's surface. But this time, Earth didn't stand alone. The Caliban was first to rise. Its core blazed white. It didn't fire missiles or lasers. It fired a memory, a pulse, a wave of raw, human emotion, grief, love, betrayal, hope, all compressed into data and blasted at. The attacking ships, the Zeran crews, froze. Their minds screamed. They weren't being attacked with weapons, they were being remembered. They felt Earth's sorrow. They felt every civilian death, every child lost, every promise broken, and it broke them. One dreadnought lost control. It turned away, Jin sputtering. Another exploded. Its eye overwhelmed by the memory dash burst. Only 3 remained, and they were afraid, truly afraid. But then, something else arrived. Not from Earth, not from the Caliban, but from deep space, from beyond. Mapped systems. Hundreds of ships appeared. Not human, not Z, HAR, and unknown. Old, beautiful, alive. They formed in perfect patterns, organic shapes, glowing holes. Gravity-defying motion, and they broadcast only one message. Earth helped us long ago. Now we help them. The council watched in disbelief. These species were never seen before. They weren't part of the galactic. They had stayed hidden until now, because Earth had saved them once, and Earth had never asked for anything in return. But now, they had come, and they came with power. The sky turned gold, the unknown fleet, joined with Earth's awakened warships. They didn't talk. They didn't argue. They acted. A perfect shield formed around Earth. Any shot that came near was erased. Not blocked, erased from time itself. On the ground, the girl stood with the old man beside the Earth's defense corps. He smiled weakly. "You see," he said, "they always believed in us. We just never believed they would return." The girl looked to the sky. "They didn't return for war," she said. "No," the old man replied. "They returned for truth." On board the last Zarin ship, Commander Relock stared at the screen. Around him, his officers begged for orders. What do we do? Do we run? He watched as one of the strange new ships, made of crystal and light, moved directly toward them. It didn't fire. It sent a message. Not words, just an image. A human mother, covering her child from an explosion. A flag. In the dust, a hand reaching out. Not for a weapon, but for peace. Commander Relock dropped to his knees. "Forgive us," he whispered, then powered down his weapons and opened a channel across the stars. The message was clear. Earth had returned, not with vengeance, but with history. And history was uncleaved. In the weeks that followed, things changed. Warships powered down. The council, fractured and silent, was no longer feared. Old enemies sent apologies, new allies sent help, and for the first time in nearly 100 years, Earth received peace not from strength, but from truth. On Earth, the girl walked alone through the ruins of old New York. Trees had grown. Between buildings, the wind was soft. She found a single metal sign buried in the dirt. It said, "United. Earth. We gave peace first." She smiled and whispered, "And we'll keep giving it until they understand." Above her, the Caliban drifted peacefully in the sky. The dead fleet rested behind it. The Allies watched in silence because they knew Earth never fought alone. It only waited ... for the galaxy to remember why it mattered.